At the time of filming this video, it is the 2nd of July of 2025. Why do we find ourselves talking about BeautyCounter again? It's like the thing that won't die. I keep thinking of Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove, where she's just like, I know, I'll turn him into a flea, and then I'll put him in a box, and then I'll put him in another box, and then I'll mail that box to myself. And when the box arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer. That's how a lot of us feel about BeautyCounter. It is truly the thing that just keeps coming back from the dead. I received a DM from my very, very, very good friend Natalie the other day, and she was like, you have got to read through this statement with me. It is completely ridiculous. And I opened it up on the website and I was like, wow, yeah, this is pretty in line with what I would expect, and yet I'm still impressed with the audacity. And Natalie's like, well, you know, you've made videos about this in the past, you should make another video. And I was like, what do we even talk about? And she was like, listen, go over the statement, because the statement itself is hilarious. And I was like, I think that we're gonna take just a little bit higher of a bird's eye view on this, especially because I'm always thinking about how to make my content more useful. Humor is useful. We do love humor, but we can make it more useful in the sense of people who maybe don't know who BeautyCounter is not falling into the BeautyCounter trap starting in 2025 and going forward. So we're going to do an overview of the entire brand's timeline and my feelings on it throughout that process. And if you don't know me yet, you'll get to know me through this, because I have had a long, long history with BeautyCounter. And then we will go through their own statement about their own rebrand as Counter at the end of the video, and we'll just have ourselves a good laugh. So let's go ahead and jump in. If you don't know me, hello, my name is Kackie. I want to transport you back to the year 2019 I know, it's actually a really lovely time. It's so much hope. In 2019, clean beauty was really coming into the forefront. It was like everyone was kind of talking about this idea of clean beauty from the standpoint of ingredients, clean beauty from the standpoint of like the appearance of makeup, things like that. Goop, you know, was having a big influence in this. And Sephora was launching their Clean at Sephora part of their business. I jumped on the opportunity to take the year, I called it Clean Routine 2019, and I wanted to deep dive on brands that self-identified as clean. We wanted to figure out why they called themselves that. I wanted to see if there was anything to it. And at the end of the year, I made a culmination video where I arrived at the idea that like this is a marketing term that brands are using, and it really doesn't have any kind of agreed upon meaning. The ultimate result of it was that a lot of brands that had originally self-identified as clean ended up kind of going towards the mainstream prestige parts of, you know, Sephora, and like stopped talking so much about the word clean. And then it also made some brands go towards using preservatives that were like less offensive in concept to that audience. So there were things like phthalates and I don't know, it was like a whole thing. People didn't want to use silicones. It was a lot. And like, to bring you up to 2025, it has very steadily become something that is like part of like a far right pipeline at this point. Like talking about clean beauty very quickly goes into like doing your own research and not vaccinating your children. I'm not gonna get into that specifically, but just from a fact standpoint, that is a pipeline that is very common at this point. So a lot of people don't really want to touch clean beauty. It feels like a radioactive term. I now have like expanded my horizons to like, you know, all prestige and luxury and things like that. Those brands that originally self-identified as clean are to some extent near and dear to my heart still, because like that was a lot of where I planted my flag when I first started my channel. But outside of that, I'm super cynical about the idea of ingredients being like bad, specifically because a lot of times, especially in something like the Yuka app, they are just blindly looking at ingredients list, not the amount of an ingredient in a formulation, and saying, yeah, that's poison, that's gonna give you cancer. And then people are going based on that knowledge, and like that's how they're navigating the beauty space. And it scares the crap out of people unnecessarily, because for a lot of things, if a preservative is in a really small amount, it's actually a safer version of a preservative for that product than if you were to use something that wasn't that, you know, synthetic chemical or whatever, because we need preservatives. Otherwise we can get things like fungal infections and allergic reactions and things like that. So we learned that like natural isn't always better, clean doesn't really mean anything, and that like some preservatives are there for a reason, and chemists probably know more than we do. And also know more than an algorithm does in a lot of cases. So I'm probably leaving a lot of things out, but that's just like bringing you up to date on the course of like the last, you know, 5.5 years of our traverse through the clean beauty world here on my channel and at large. So let's talk about BeautyCounter. I initially found BeautyCounter because a lovely viewer of mine offered to send me a bunch of their products to try for a video. At the time, I was like, this is a very popular clean beauty brand. I didn't buy anything from them. I just borrowed it, tried it, sent it back. The video went nuts for like, you know, the size of my channel at the time. People were really interested in BeautyCounter. And so as things came out, I made videos about it. My viewer who I was working with at the time seemed to take a lot of pride in her work, and even though BeautyCounter self-identified as a multi-level marketing company, that's their business model, there was something about it that felt different. If you were a member or a consultant or whatever it is that they called them at the time for BeautyCounter, feel free to leave in the comments like what the appeal was. The main thing for me to make sure that I caveat in this video is that like I have a lot of disdain for the MLM business model. I do not have disdain for the people who have found themselves kind of roped into something and in over their heads on an MLM, okay? I do not mean to ever like insult the intelligence of someone who thought that this was an opportunity to make money, because they make a really good case for it, okay? Especially in terms of feeling included. That's what MLMs do so well. We're not gonna be talking about MLMs at large here, but my God, you know, go watch Kackie Chanel. If you ever wanna just get really riled up and honestly see all the way through to the bones of certain MLMs, watch her channel because it's incredibly satisfying. BeautyCounter was founded by a woman named Greg Renfrew, and Greg had really put herself at the helm of the company like very visibly. Like, I am girl boss. I will help you, girl boss. We're gonna go to Congress and we're gonna fight against the evil ingredients, you know? The brand launched in 2013 with a never list. That was their thing. It was like over 1,800 ingredients that they said that they were never going to use in their products, and it was supposed to be advocating for safer beauty and things like that. All with that kind of like underlying implication that's like, if this is safer and this is cleaner, then the things that are not us are dirtier and more dangerous. It's not really hard to extrapolate that. So it's a very us versus them thing, but also we're talking about a lot of stay-at-home moms with kids because they're moms. And as a mom, I will say, yeah, you're gonna be cautious about the well-being of your child. And so someone telling you that there are things that are dangerous that other people aren't telling you about, you're at least gonna bend an ear towards it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to kind of like start paying attention to something like that and wanting to care. They used a lot of accusations around greenwashing to kind of vilify other brands that were claiming to be kind of all natural, this, that, and the other. But at the same time, I'll be the first to say when things are talking about being all natural and using things like essential oils and stuff like that, they are just as likely, if not more likely, to be more irritant to your skin because it's like such a hyper concentration of ingredients. The whole thing about like the way that most of our products are formulated is that chemists are extremely adept at like doing teeny tiny amounts of things for the most part to keep any one thing from being the most likely thing to irritate your skin. Like, it's in small enough amounts that it shouldn't be super irritating. Obviously, we still have things that our skin is irritated by, but I think that that's kind of, from my observation, the mentality of it. And so the whole like greenwashing was somewhere in between the idea of like, you know, products being misunderstood by the customer in a lot of ways. Like, okay, well, these are a bunch of things I can't pronounce. Why is that? Does that make it evil? And then brands kind of trying to take shortcuts to being like, oh, this is all natural or this is whatever. And so BeautyCounter did have an angle that I feel like really resonated with people in that moment. But here's the catch, right? Instead of selling in stores, they were going to use the direct sales model. Greg Renfrew would be the first one to say that she wanted it to be all about relationships. She wanted it to be all about being able to be your own boss. Again, it's that same language that's used to rope anybody into MLMs. The idea being that you are not just making money on selling products, you are making money on recruiting people and getting a cut of their sales as well. So you're getting to kind of multiply that. Those are called overrides. That's when your downline sells things and you get a percentage of their sales as well as your own sales. So it's kind of passive income depending on how high you are in the, let's all say it together, pyramid. And MLMs remain popular, okay? I don't have the data on all of them, but there were over 65,000 consultants for BeautyCounter at its peak. And let me tell you, from a performance standpoint, the products were okay. I had a pretty nasty breakout from some of their skincare, and I found the makeup to be fine, but obviously corners were being cut in the name of sustainability. Okay, sure. But like, it just felt kind of like cheap cardboard, and they gave you an abundance of product, yes, for your money, but most of it would expire really quickly because of the preservatives that they used. And the prices were, as with most MLMs, completely absurd, and they remain absurd. Like, everything is about twice as expensive as it should be, especially for the performance, and y'all know I'm a stickler for performance. Nonetheless, these women marched on Washington, not really, but they did go to the Senate floor, I believe, and they were heard about like dangers of certain ingredients and products. I mean, the empowerment optics were incredible. I mean, they were running just as strong of a PR campaign on behalf of BeautyCounter as they were building a business and teaching other people to build their businesses. I mean, it was an elaborate and well orchestrated scheme. So that went on for a while. Like I said, I was reviewing this in 2019, and if it started in 2013, this is already a well-oiled machine. Now, before we jump to the next part of the timeline, I want to talk about what kind of made BeautyCounter okay with everybody. 'Cause like, it wasn't ever okay, right? It was always an MLM. It was always something that was making a lot more people broke than it was making them rich. A lot of women were finding a sense of purpose, but mostly feeling this like nasty heat down the back of their necks, like waking up every morning being like, I need to sell and I need to buy and I owe something to this company and I need to build my business and I'm not doing enough and my upline is putting pressure on me for X, Y, and Z. I need to recruit my family. You know, there are a lot of really big factors in being part of an MLM that give you a lot of just like existential anxiety that isn't actually what happens when you build your own business. As someone who's built her own business, that's not how it's supposed to feel. So why was it okay? Greg Renfrew had this network of goop adjacent buddies. These celebrity women like Amy Schumer and Gwyneth Paltrow, who were willing to say really nice things about her products, about the formulations and things like that, and also about safety and about the mission of the company, never mentioning the direct sales portion of it, but it was all outweighed by the portrayed morality of what it was that Greg was doing with this brand. And to me, it's like, it was impossible to reconcile the fact that like, for all the good that they were saying that they were doing, there was absolutely no need for them to be a direct sales company. They did not need to be an MLM. Nothing ever needs to be an MLM. And so it's like this idea that it's like, oh, we're empowering people X, Y, and Z. There are other ways of doing that that are not this aggressive MLM model, but they're also consequently not so aggressively lining Greg Renfrew's pockets with stay-at-home moms' money. So in 2021, BeautyCounter sold a majority stake to a huge private equity corporation called the Carlyle Group. They valued the brand at $1 billion. It was looking like a huge payday for Greg Renfrew and co, right? But like, no sooner had the ink dried on this deal, the Carlyle Group just started changing everything. I think the optics of an MLM are one thing, but when you sell a majority stake to a giant company like that, they have so much experience running other companies. They're like, well, we're going to take those learnings from other brands and we're going to put them on your brand. We're going to kind of pivot the strategy. What they didn't realize was that when you do that, you're actually like bursting the illusion. You are killing that fantasy, the bubble that all of these consultants and customers were stuck inside of, which is, again, that delicate balance of perception of like, we're doing something that's bigger than ourselves, and like, we're not really going to talk about the MLM factor of it because like, I'm getting so much purpose out of this. As soon as the Carlyle Group started to really intentionally introduce much more like retail-oriented, traditional retail-oriented practices to the brand, it's like everyone woke up from a dream. And the thing that caused most people to wake up was the fact that they were basically being notified that their rates were being cut drastically. We need to talk about the rates that people are getting paid to sell for this MLM, and then also the rates of the overrides. The reason that these products were so expensive is because the consultants themselves were making 25 to 35% on the sale of each product. I am a professional beauty influencer, right? I am someone who, I'm not necessarily selling you makeup on the internet, but I am advising you, and I do make a commitment commission on the sales that you decide to make through my links, right? That's the disclosure that we all make when we're talking about these videos. So what are my commissions like? Just to give you an idea, like a brand will reach out and be like, hey, we're gonna treat you to like 15%. Maybe 20% for like this short amount of time. Most of the time, I mean, Sephora pays, I think 13%. Most of the smaller retailers pay like 9%. If it's a higher ticket item, like clothing, it'll be like 5%. Like you're lucky to get 3 on perfume kind of thing. 25 to 35% is a lot, and it's built into the price of the product, meaning that like those markups are just wackadoo. It has nothing to do with the quality of the product itself. And then on top of that, there were overrides. So someone in your downline, someone you recruited to be kind of under your little MLM umbrella, lower on the triangle than you, if they made a sale, you were still making 5 to 12% of their sales. Again, built into the price of the product. So if you buy those products, that was what you were paying for, was for consultants to get paid. Don't worry, Greg was also getting paid. And in a lot of cases in MLMs, if that other person recruits someone, you still make money off of them too. And that's why MLMs get the rap that they do about how it's less important to sell a retail product than it is to recruit people. And that's kind of the predatory essence of it, and why it is not really a legitimate business model, is because it isn't about retail. So the first thing Carlisle does is just slash the commissions, because they need to find money somewhere. If they're going to be selling these products to retailers, retailers aren't paying full price for them, so they need to sell them at a much larger discount. They gotta find that money somewhere. I mean, that's just simple math, right? And so they cut the commissions, and they really cut the overrides for the downlines. Some of the top sellers, and honestly, making this business model work for you is no small feat. Even though I don't endorse it, like slay, I'm kind of impressed, you know, because it is a lot of work. They saw their income, which in some cases was real income, slashed by up to like 60% overnight. And so once that veneer is gone, you're just there trying to sell like $100 face cream to your friend or your family member or whoever, and like knowing that you're not gonna really get anything from it. It just felt like very basic reality at that point. It was like, no mission, no money, I don't wanna do this anymore. And so a bunch of people left. And the next thing that Carlisle did, again, in their like hilarious hubris, their like miscalculation of what it is that makes an MLM work, because what makes an MLM work is emotion, illusion, the magic, the fantasy, being part of something. They unceremoniously came in and just paved over that. So they took Greg Renfrew out. They tried to go into retailers. That was the last video that I made, was when they went into Ulta, and I was like, don't be fooled. This is still an MLM, and these prices are still outrageous for the actual product in the container. They basically lost all trust within their customers and with their consultants, because all of a sudden BeautyCounter's out here trying to be a regular brand, and what they do was never gonna work as a regular brand in the first place. They would have to admit that those prices were overblown for no reason. So cut to April 2024, when Carlisle had to basically write off $700 million in debt in the form of bankruptcy. And we all thought that BeautyCounter was no more. In fact, I didn't think anything about BeautyCounter. I didn't think about them at all. And while it's easy to poke fun at an MLM kind of having its fall in that sense, these are still real people we're talking about, and like, a lot of people lost their jobs with no severance. People were locked out of the back end of their like consultant dashboards and things like that. There was no Cobra, there was no nothing. It was just this like overnight like blackout on the brand itself. And it was just like emotionally brutal for the people who worked there. So like this affected real lives. I feel like the brand was handled in such like a cavalier and callous way. So understandably, people were pretty like done with BeautyCounter, both from a customer standpoint to a consultant standpoint, things like that. But like Greg Renfrew, the girl, I will give her one thing. She's like that frog grabbing the heron's neck, you know? It's just like she does not want to give up. And it almost makes it seem like this is actually her dream from the standpoint of like, again, heart and soul and morality, and like we really want to go and pass legislation for cleaner ingredients. But I can't see her that way. Anybody who runs a company with this business model is kind of a monster in my eyes. You can't really change my mind on that. But she did go and buy back the remaining assets of BeautyCounter to try and like scrounge it back together and build something from the ashes. She is relaunching the brand as this kind of like lean, mean thing under the name Counter. She really is coming out being like, no, product's same, shade range is same, price is same, business model same, you get paid less. Voila. The consultants are not consultants anymore. Now they're called brand partners. Doesn't it feel different? I feel different. I want to go be a brand partner. It makes me sound so important. Is my name going to be on the marquee? Are you putting it on the website? They're using a lot of really specific language to try and rebrand this as exactly what it always was, except not as good for the people actually being consultants. Apparently, multi-level marketing didn't test well among focus groups, so they have decided that they're going to call it community-based commerce because that really resonates. So like I said, there is no judgment to the people who were part of BeautyCounter as consultants. I have talked to many of them. I still get emails from some of them. Most of them really, for a certain period of time, felt like they were part of it. You know, they really cared about like the mission of the brand. It was empowering. They did make some money. And this video or videos like this are never about tearing those people down. The issue is about the bait and switch of like empowerment to being shoved out because of margins, because some big company wanted to make more money, and how the idea of clean beauty and safer beauty was co-opted to sell a business model that really only benefits very few at the top. You can have your feelings about whether or not clean beauty is like a viable thing, but this was never about clean beauty to begin with. It was just about finding an idea that they could sell to people and ultimately just scalability through exploitation. So in closing on the timeline, I feel like my stance is pretty clear. I don't encourage anybody to get ensnared in this, especially in its current form, okay? But I also want to say, as these things are being sold online now, especially to the uninitiated, if you're not kind of like following this timeline over the past however many 12 years at this point, if you haven't been following along, you might look at those prices and go, oh wow, this is a luxury brand. It's they're using pretty much the cheapest ingredients that they can get away with, just like anybody does, but at the same time, like they're doing it at this wild markup because at one point, and I guess now you could still argue, yes, they are still building in this consultant percentage to all of their prices that is not reflected in the quality of the product. So just bear that in mind. So now we're gonna have some fun. Let's go on their website and read their statement about themselves, because my God, it is a whole lot of words. That is what I will give them. Boy, they met a word count. They've got Andy McDowell on the website. Andy, I thought you were better than that. So this is what you get to when you click on community. So it's not about, it's community on their website. It says, what's the heartbeat of Counter? Real people doing real work to deliver real clean. We know one thing for sure, the industry standards and stories from the past must evolve. We deserve better beauty, and now we get the honor of making it. Change at this level offers us each the opportunity to contribute in deeply meaningful ways. Doing so will take time, require patience, and demand more, but it is not a burden, it is a joy to do this work together. As the Counter community, we stand proudly for progress, whether it's personal or professional, whether through products or packaging. Progress is our shared purpose, and that means our work will never be done. That was only the first part. Can someone tell me a meaning that you got from that? A morsel. I will accept anything, because all I heard there was projected word salad. These are the things that we must do. None of it is what we are doing. And while they're using words like meaningful, progress, purpose, they're not saying what they're actually gonna do for progress or purpose. But hey, let's give them, let's give them a fair shake. It's only the first couple of paragraphs. Let's see what else they say in terms, are they like, what's your commitment? What's your commitment? Instead of beauty secrets and competition, we share openly. We embrace collaboration over competition, transparency over trade secrets. Okay. Because real clean requires all of us, from lab to leadership to the people who use our products. Oh, it requires all of us. I was like, it requires you to do what? It just requires us. Just requires us. There's a lot of those kinds of sentences in here. When our team hits a roadblock, we share it. When our customers discover something that works, we listen. When regulations don't protect us, we advocate for change that matters. No one person has all the answers. That's why we are building a community that will ask more meaningful questions. Admitting that we don't know makes us stronger, not weaker. Sharing knowledge, challenges, and discoveries across our community means each of us plays a role in making beauty better, and it means nobody is left out of the discussion. I mean, it doesn't say anything. Like, hey, people, you can be with other people. And about a new ingredient might lead to weeks of additional testing. I don't care. A sales team insight could change how we develop product packaging. Issues in a lab become everyone's learning opportunities. Each challenge is a gift, a moment to learn and share. When we don't know something, we say so, then we figure it out. You're not the first person to make beauty products. What do you mean? That's how everyone functions. If something doesn't work, we do something about it because we don't like not selling products. Mother of God. Sharing knowledge, every time I touch something, the whole damn thing jumps. Sharing knowledge, challenges, and discoveries across our community means each of us plays a role in making beauty better. What? That doesn't even say anything. I'm getting mad. Our collective commitment to health and safety drives everything we do. How? And we cannot do it without you. Success comes from prioritizing people and planet just as much as profits. How? You are the key, our North Star, the reason we exist. No duh, you need our money. Everything we achieve together is from you, for you. You know, duh, my money. Every ingredient choice considers your health first. Every product decision asks, does this serve our community? Your feedback shapes our formulations. I feel like it's just word salad talking in circles. Your concerns drive our research. Your needs guide our steps. Without you, there is no us. Correct, because you need our money. God, it just keeps jumping around. What a terrible website, what a terrible website, what a terrible website. Oh my God, stop! Ah! Oh my God, so annoying. Worst website ever. We acknowledge and celebrate that behind every product, event, photograph, paragraph, and conversation, there are groups of humans doing hard, meaningful work. I feel like it's like someone was like, hey, Greg, there's people here. Did you know that? Like, it's not just like money coming into your bed. There's people here. They need you to tell them stuff that people want to hear. And she's like, ooh, hopey changey. Nothing against Obama. But like, you know, it's giving that. It's giving like dime store chat GPT hopey changey. Like that's what I'm getting from this. And like AI could do better than this. This was clearly written by humans because an AI would have done a better job. If you're part of this community, you know that the most challenging path often leads to the best results. We don't look for shortcuts because that's not where the answers will be. She learned that the hard way, didn't she? We take the higher road no matter how tough because we know what's at stake. Seriously, it's like Timu Michelle Obama. Meet the formulators who tested dozens of combinations, the sourcing team who visited suppliers in person, the customer service rep who spent 2 hours diving into a new question. Who cares? I mean, God bless him. Who wants to do that? I'm sorry for that customer service rep. How terrible. The neighbor who took a moment out of her day to share something safer. Real people doing real work, not because it's easy, but because we deserve nothing less. I hope that my comments are full of people just being like, you're a cynical old bat. I hope your ingredients poison you. I hope you get cancer. That's what they're all gonna say to me in my comments. Sorry. Success belongs to everyone who contributes to making real clean possible. Greg, give me some of your money. We believe that individual achievement and collective success are not separate. I mean, honestly, at this point, shut up. Like, shut up. Why is it so long? If it's that great, it shouldn't take that much explaining. Greg Renfrew? Grenfrew? Can I call you Grenfrew? Our development as people and a broader community happen together. The beauty of this, it means our community will create what our community needs, and then we share it with the world. I hate this so much. It's like frying my Gemini moon. It's frying it. When we solve a formulation challenge, the entire industry knows better is... The damn thing jumped again as soon as I tried to scroll. Stop it! Jesus, okay, this is the last part. I feel like why is it so long? The community is counter. We embody a different story than the one beauty has been telling for generations. We create the change we want and need across the industry. We're building a new culture. Wrap it up, Renfrew. Not just our community, but for what real clean beauty means in this world. Yes, we are rewriting beauty's playbook again. One honest conversation, one transparent process. Oh my God, it jumped all the way to the top. One real product at a time. This isn't just about counter. Yes, it is. It's about proving that an entire industry can do better, and it starts with us right here, right now, each day. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype, okay? Like, vote with your dollar. Buy the things that are actually good for your skin. If that's BeautyCounter, okay, I'm not gonna tell you how to spend your money. I guess I'm just saying that, like, understand that this is so much word salad, nonsense, talk in circles, line, ren, friends, pockets, smoke up your skirt, your hypothetical gender neutral skirt, in order to co-opt a feel-good that, to be honest, is completely dead. I mean, it is a horse that was dead and then they just beat it. They just beat it for so long. And they were like, now, hopey changey, we're gonna like resurrect this idea as something that's going to give you that like moral feel-good feeling because that's what's going to make us money. Greg Renfrew, get a new idea, okay? Or start a nonprofit and actually go to Congress. If change is really what you want, then you would put the money that you're actually getting for these high as a kite priced products and putting it actually into higher quality formulations instead of charging people $80, $90, $100, over $100 for a product that probably cost you pennies on the dollar to make. This is not someone's passion that you are funding, okay? It is, like we said, scalability through exploitation. Oh, I just love a good airing of the grievances. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed learning about Counter today. And I don't know, I hope this motivates you to trust your gut a lot more, especially if like you're looking at your routine, nothing's particularly bothering you about it, and then someone wants to charge you so much money, right, to fearmonger you into thinking that the ingredients in your products are bad. I always encourage people to research the opposition of what they think too. It's a good way to keep a nice, even-keeled perspective. So if nothing else, I hope that this was fun for y'all. I know that a lot of y'all just enjoy listening to me complain. So if you enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up. If you're new here or you just haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe while you're here. We would love to have you. I will put a video up here that I think you'll enjoy if you liked this one. Thank y'all so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.